All right. Okay, so today we have Sandy and Solo, and we're here to address Solo's issue of coprophagia, the technical term for eating poop. So thank you both for being here. I chose this topic for my behavior modification case because I'm just really concerned that he could get sick. So I brought some skills to prevent the behavior from being enacted. And, we're all doing the best we can to manage this behavior and also, to determine if Solo has some sort of nutritional deficiency. So Sandy is one of Solo's guardians and cares very much for him and takes good care of him. So I have a few questions for you. One, do you know how long Solo has had this problem?
I think the last year it seems like it's been building. He's been in his new home, in his current home for 2 years. He was adopted a year, so I feel like there was a window where he wasn't as actively seeking it out, but it seems to have built.
Okay.
Increased his ferociousness around it.
Yeah.
I would say in the last, it just feels like it's getting more and more aggressive on his side.
Yeah, he definitely seems kind of obsessed with it. When we go to the dog park or when I take him to Tilden, as soon as he gets in there, that's what he's going for. So I'll tell you what we've been doing to work with that.
Okay.
So in the last year, so not when you got him from the breeder?
Not right away. He was a year, so it seems he ate his food super quickly. Like it went down and it was gone in a second. But no, it didn't seem to be as big of a factor in the beginning.
Okay. Well, there goes my theory. Okay. So one thing that I learned when I was doing research, I'm not going to go through this again, but that it's really common for littermates to eat each other's feces. So I was thinking that since he had been living till he was 11 months at the breeders, that he might have been rehearsing this behavior for a long time. But you told me also that you think there was some competition over food with his littermates or siblings.
Yeah, I think they were barn dogs. I think they stayed in an outside facility away from the humans for a lot of their time.
Okay, yeah.
Or some of their time. I think he was well cared for, but I think they had an outside living situation. Yeah,
so he might have been sort of rehearsing a sort of scavenging behavior. He also might have gone hungry because, as we know, Solo is when he interacts with other dogs, I'd say he's pretty low key, more on the low key side of temperament. And he hears me calling him. So he may have lost competitions with his siblings and gone hungry sometimes and developed this sort of obsessiveness about consumption. So I mean, there's been articles written like, why do dogs eat grass? And people think that it's so that they can get sick and that makes their stomach feel better, but actually there's no scientific research that proves that. So with this behavior, it's like, why would he ever do something like that? It's so abnormal to us. And he might be it might have started as like he might like the taste, and then it just became like more and more of a habit or a compulsion.
I don't think any dog turns away cat poop. Because I think it has a high amount of whatever, it's like lack of food being digested, but comparing him to another dog, she doesn't eat, she'll go for cat poop, but she's not interested in any other dog,
Yeah.
He, on the other hand.
Yeah. Also, if Solo's mother had this issue, there's a higher likelihood that he would develop the trait.
Right.
And if they're barn dogs and they're out in the country, probably the owners aren't going there every day, out into the backyard every day and cleaning up after them.
Yeah.
So, he might have, seen his mom do it or something.
Yeah.
Do you know if he doesn't seem to go for his own feces?
He does at different times.
Okay.
I think that's increased over time as well. Like it's
Okay.
become a little bit more. I think if you left it to his own devices, he would at this point.
Okay. So we'll address that when we get to the training, how to keep him to recall right after he goes. So he recently went to the vet. We want to always ask questions about medical checkups, recent medical checkups. His weight is currently normal and his blood test came back normal. And there's other things that could be tested for that can contribute to this, like hyperthyroidism, diabetes, Cushing syndrome, parasites, that's if they do a stool sample test, worms, malabsorption they can test for, and pancreatic deficiency. So those are all things.
And I don't know if that secondary wave of stuff got done.
Yeah.
His two primary guardians would have to answer that question.
Yeah. Because, when I asked they said he did blood tests and that they came back normal, and I asked about the digestive health, and they said that they didn't test for that, and I was just surprised that the vet neglected that test, knowing that Solo has that problem.
Right.
Also deficiency in thiamine, which is vitamin B1, which affects muscle function, the flow of electrolytes in and out of nerve cells, muscle cells, digestion, and carbohydrate metabolism. So those are all just ideas to throw out there. Is Solo currently on any medication, like for his elbow, or
no? He's just on some glucosamine stuff.
Yeah.
Some supplements, and then he's on his monthly triplexes, heartworm.
Oh, okay.
But no, he's on
nothing.
Yeah, he takes a probiotic and a prebiotic. So
yeah.
Trying the prebiotic. There hasn't been a change a visible change there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which both of those I think contribute to the absorption thing.
Yeah.
In his.
And one thing that I sent a question out, in the last few days, I joined a Bernese Mountain Dog Yahoo group. Do you know it? Burner L. And thousands of people worldwide are on it. And so I told them the situation with the coprophagia, and I got a lot of different responses. A lot of people that have burners are perplexed by this behavior. I'll just give you the highlights of what a few people said. One woman recommended acupuncture to calm the stomach. Another person, she also recommended Carbo Vegetalis 30C, which helps with stomach issues and absorbs toxins. A Pepsid. And she also said most burners are obsessed with food.
Yeah, they do have
there's a genetic
foods
element here.
Yeah.
And then someone asked if he's getting enough fiber in his diet. I know that his food has lamb, but I don't know the other ingredients.
Yeah.
That might be something he's seeking. And then the rest of the people I have back here, someone recommended that a muzzle really helped. And she also said that when her burner went over to eat something on the ground, that she would clear her throat and it would stop him.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good training there. Someone else said nothing.
Yeah, I think he's open to being interrupted.
Yeah.
It's figuring out what that interrupted thing is. Because I think he does want to respond to his human persons.
Yeah, recently we've been practicing it so much, usually leave it, and he actually sees the poop and he looks right at me.
Right.
So
Because he's waiting for a you know what.
Yeah, because I usually
Yeah.
give him something good when he
Yeah.
gets away from the poop.
Yeah.
And then let me just read you a couple more responses I got. Someone else said nothing has worked.
Yeah.
That she doesn't do it as ravenously as she used to, but she still does it. And somebody else said that he knew that dogs with this problem that he knows with this problem have been exclusively kibble fed. So he suggested adding sardines or mackerel to the dinner or something and observe whether that fixes it.
Oh yeah, he gets his pumps of fish out, but I don't think
Yeah.
that has mackerel or sardine in it.
Yeah, so I mean, and you know, I think with him, like, it's kind of a habit, and you know, I don't know if there's any more complex reason that he might just like it, because he's like a fast food junkie, you know, or a cigarette smoker, you know, he'll just like take what's ever unhealthy for him. One thing that I did read was that studies show that shelter dogs have coprophagia, perhaps because of levels of stress and anxiety, or perhaps because they were surrendered because of these issues. So I personally don't notice him being so stressed, except for his recent book eating behavior. He seems like a pretty, like when I pick him up, he sometimes he jumps on the door and he's, you know.
He wants to go with you.
Yeah, he's very excited, but for the most part, he doesn't seem like a very stressed out dog.
Yeah, no, I would say, you know, certainly being transitioned from one home to another is a big deal. So he left one environment that he was probably very, very, very well cared for, a lot of dogs, and then he came to a new environment, and you know, I think he moved through that very well, but there could also be a delay of just what it means to acclimate into a new environment. He definitely had some digestive issues when he arrived, so changing out of lamb, the food changed. We tried to get him on the same food as the other, and that didn't work. So he's definitely a lamb-based dog, or at least that. Plus, we haven't experimented on anything else. But I would say his fixation with the ground has just, I mean, he goes out on a walk and he is down on the ground with his nose on the ground. He would, if he had his choice, he would try to do it the entire walk. And that's increased over time as well. So I think a lot of it is habit-based.
Some other articles I read say that it's because of like boredom, and you know, it's tricky with a 2-dog household, you know, because you want to keep them separated when there's food around, but if, you know, food puzzle toys or Kongs or...
They're good with each other. There's no fighting over, they don't fight. There's no fighting over food. She'll defer as well. I mean, so there's none of that concern. So they're both, you know, pretty good tempered about the food. Clearly they both want it, but they don't like fight with each other to get the biscuit. One will just give in to the other one if whoever gets there first. They're not. They don't fight with each other.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
What you see is his exuberance. So whatever he, you know, when he almost, you know, he's so fixated on food right now. And he's just more of it is his excitement to get it out of your hand. Then if you ask him to be gentle, he'll sort of slow down and then he's really fixated. So for me, a lot of it seems like it's behavior.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll send you the link for the Burmese.
Okay.
Oh, and then my other question was, because you've been a guardian of so many burners. How many? Like 5?
Well, I had them growing up, and then I would consider him to be my
Yeah.
6th as an adult.
Wow. Okay, and so have you ever noticed this problem before or another
Well, we had one growing up that was a poop eater.
Oh, okay.
So 1 out of 4.
Yeah.
And then none of the others have been as bad as him, but my adult. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a burner family.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll send you the link to the Yahoo group if you're interested in that. Okay, and then real quick, what's your current, you or Sharon or Jody, the current response when Solo does this, the sort of consequence of this behavior?
I think it's a steer away. I don't think there's a true consequence. I'm often taking both of them together, so it's just this, steering them both clear of it.
Yeah.
But there's not a real formal, I wouldn't say we're consistent, which that definitely can help if we all try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's definitely frustrating, to be honest.
Yes.
And so I try to remind myself that he's a dog, and sort of try to let that frustration go, and then just work with what we have, which is, encouraging, for me, I would like to encourage him to look up on a walk, not down.
Yeah.
That you're here with me. This is
focus. Yeah.
And reward him for that positive. They don't get treats with us. Obviously, I know you're in a training, but on a walk with him, there's no treats.
Okay.
So the treats they get are a calm here or a specific. They get one after dinner, but it's not. The walks are not a place where they get that from the 3 of us.
Sure.
So he knows he's getting it on his training work with you, but he doesn't expect it on a walk.
Okay. Does he stay next to you, or do you take him out, or?
I sometimes end up, switching leashes around.
Yeah,
I give them, obviously, sniffing flowers and all those things, that wonderful thing that walks do for dogs, which is stimulation in and of itself. So I try to let them have that freedom. For her, it's not a problem. For him, it is, because she's seeking the tip of a flower, and who walked by, he's seeking what he wants to find.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would say they have they're not on a short leash. I shorten them up when I get frustrated. And I'm like, okay, this is just too much going after stuff.
Yeah.
Often it's worse in the beginning, and oftentimes by the end of a longer walk, he's much more sort of focused on just following behind.
Yeah.
And less, he'll be trailing behind me on a short leash, less trying to scavenge.
Yeah.
If that's even a word ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of the exercises I was going to show you in the backyard, it's a little bit small for loose leash walking, to practice on skills to keep him focused on you and in the middle of the sidewalk. And I really don't let him sniff that much anymore. And if he starts to lead with his nose kind of vigorously, I say leave it. Even if I don't see anything in front of him, I just say leave it, and we move on. And
good.
So that brings us to the management section, which is the last section, and then we'll go practice the training. I avoid tall grasses. We usually do our long walks in the Hearst neighborhood, and I know we kind of do the same path every time. So I know which places to avoid. Also, in the tall grasses in that neighborhood, I've found syringes.
Yeah.
So we just try to stay away from them for many different reasons. So the muzzle, I know you like Sharon and Jody don't really want to do that, but the offer is always on the table. So, and you can get him one, a basket muzzle that has plenty of room to breathe, and I can work with him on creating a positive association to it, so he's jazzed to put it on even. I worked with a dog over nearby here that was a major sidewalk surfer, but he was thrilled to put a muzzle on because he knew he was going for a walk. So, and you can always cut it so you can put treats, you know. So, anyway, that's always there. So keeping him always trying to keep him in the middle of the sidewalk. That's part of the training. We don't even go to a loaning dog park anymore, because people they don't observe their dogs there and they don't pick up after them, and the poop hides in the tan bark. So we stay away. In Tilden on trails, he's especially like ravenous and motivated. So like I've taken him to Tilden, tried going off leash, like he just ran like a wild animal. So I just keep him leashed in Tilden, and there's lots of stuff on the ground there too. Like I was mentioning, the body language cues. If he's onto something, like if he's found something that he's probably going to eat, he gets real close with his nose.
Yeah, he often squats, like I watch him, he like gets real low to the ground, almost like he wants to dig in and not budge.
Get a fork and a knife and a plate. And so there's other times though when he leads with his body, with his legs, and it's a different sort of way of approaching something, and I've clued into that. And so as soon as he starts to go with his nose, then I say leave it. And you do a great job of this, keeping the backyard and front yard clean. I never find anything laying around. And the probiotic, the digestive enzyme, and then just making sure that when he does do that, we're not making a big deal out of it, like screaming at him or clapping or yelling at him or pushing him or anything like that, because he'll see that as attention and a reward. So also I read meat tenderizers and food additives can help increase protein digestion. And diets very high in protein seem to alleviate the caloric need for eating crap. All right. Any other questions before we work on training?
Nope.
Okay. I have so what we're going to work on is leave it, recall, loose leash walking, and then the drop. And real quick.
So we're doing this all outside?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just, he'll go out and she'll hoot a little bit to us leaving, but it's fine. She can stay in the house. She's a big girl.
We'll try to do it quickly.
No worries.
And then I drew up, there's the first law of the great solo is that he likes to be paid for his work. And I really learned this at the training academy. And he differentiates treats really well, and also the amount of treats you give him. So how
does he respond to just verbal praise with you? Is that's not a reward?
I do use that when he stops walking. I try not to like bust out a treat right away, but instead I teach an alternate behavior, which is like come, or sometimes I just say walk, or let's go. And then I turn around and I walk a few steps and I reward him for walking, not sitting. So
but is it all treat based?
It's not, it can be hug based. He responds great to affection. So usually we have to do like 2 or 3 hugs before we get in the car. And he also responds really well to praise. So I really, when he stops, it's like I don't try to bring food into it. So he, when I teach the leave it and the recall, I give higher value treats. So like he likes this natural balance lamb stuff. He responds really well to that. And the last night that I brought him to the training academy, I brought boiled lamb, and he was so responsive, and we scored a fat 95%. Woo! Yes.
Good job, buddy.
And then when I first greet him, when I say hello, He always takes the opportunity to smell my treat bag,
Mhm.
and I think it keeps him motivated. And I keep 2 Ziploc. Oh, you heard me. I keep 2 Ziploc bags in my treat bag. One with low value treats, like kibble for the walk.
Yeah.
High value.
Hey. Hey. You need to go. No barking. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go.
Okay. And lastly, he responds well on the walk to kibble. Really well with sweet potatoes, really well to lamb formula, really well to biscuits, really well to beef hot dogs, actually pretty much everything. All right, man.
Good job, buddy.
Okay, my kind of dog. All right, so let's go outside
Okay.
and practice the training.
Why don't you guys go out first and I'll leave.